Hello everyone, and welcome on back to another episode. Now today, we're almost 2019. So, you know what that means. Go back and take a look at the movies that came out the previous year. So let's not waste any time to get to the top 10 worst movies of 2018. Why worst first? Save the best for last. Now, let's get into the video. Now, before I get into the list, quick little thing. I haven't seen all the movies in 2018. That's impossible. I don't really feel like it. Also, there are, this is my own personal list, so, you know, don't go commenting, oh, you're such and such, you're wrong. It's my opinion. Whatever. Number 10, Solo: A Star Wars Story. Is it good? Not really. Here's the thing, though. There's two different types of movies on my bad list. A bad movie that, like, I hate and don't want to watch ever again. And a bad movie that is somewhat enjoyable. Solo: A Star Wars Story, there are parts that are semi-enjoyable. What I say the whole movie is? No. I think there's about one really good action sequence, one really cool cameo, and that's about it. The performances aren't great. The guy who played Solo was fine. He wasn't great, but he was okay. The only real actor that I really liked that standed out was Lando. So, other than that, it's a pretty average movie. Coming in at number 9 is Venom. Now, I'm gonna get some flack for some of my friends for saying this. Venom is it's a fine movie. It's not the worst thing in the world. But what I would say for Venom is it's not good. It's a bad movie, but it's a bad movie that's funny, that's enjoyable. There are certain parts that I laughed out loud when I don't think I was supposed to. I think it was supposed to be more of a more serious movie, and it was very funny in some parts, and I don't think it was supposed to be. I think the dynamic off of the symbiote and Brock was really well done. But other than that, honestly, it's a bland movie. The action is meh, especially when you have a black symbiote at night where the black sky is there. It doesn't really fit. But, I mean, what are you gonna do? It was fine. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it definitely belongs on the worst end of the spectrum. Coming in at number 8 is Slenderman. Now, I actually enjoyed this movie. I went to the movie with some of my friends, and I actually thought it wasn't that bad. It's kind of a guilty pleasure because I know it's not really the best movie. I know, you know, technically it's not that good. Do I hate it? Not really. Would I say to go see it? No. Like, if you like that type of movie, then maybe it's for you. Honestly, I thought it was okay. I thought some shots were really, really good, but the performances were not. But, again, it belongs on the bad end of the spectrum. Number 7 is Teen Titans Go to the movies. Teen Titans Go to the movies was not a good movie. The characters are horrible. The show is just, don't even get me started on it. But the movie, there were some jokes that genuinely worked, which is why it's not further down on the list. It's bad because the story is horrible, it's bad because it completely ruins what the Teen Titans is supposed to be, but it's not completely the worst thing because there are actually some jokes that work, and I have to give it credit for when it does. Coming in at number 6 is Axel. This is the first movie where I gotta say, it wasn't good. It wasn't even like a good, like, enjoyable movie, but on the bad end of the spectrum, no. It is just not good. It's painfully average. It has some of the worst special effects on the dog ever. Why didn't they just make a puppet? I don't know. It's not great. The acting is so bland, it almost is bad. The overall story is about as good as the Transformer movies, and yeah, it's pretty much just the Transformer movies, just with a slightly different angle. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's that good. In fact, I would say don't go see it. Coming in at number 5 is Game Night. Again, painfully average. Some jokes were okay. Some of the performances, for some reason, the actors were actually trying. I think a few were. I think the majority of them were not. The story could have been super funny. There's so much potential for this movie that it really, really sucks that it wasn't that good, because honestly, it could have been amazing. The potential for the funniness in this movie was there. It just wasn't utilized. Again, painfully average movie, that's why it's right in the middle of the list. Number 4, Goosebumps 2. Now I have to give a little bit of a flag here, a little bit of a warning, a little bit of a hey, take this with a grain of salt. I did see this movie with a few of my friends, and we had a really fun time there, because I don't get to see her a whole lot. But, enough of that, honestly, Goosebumps 2 was not a good movie. The first one was only good because of Jack Black, basically. Jack Black is in the sequel. I did not expect him to be in the sequel, which was a welcome surprise. Problem is, he only had like 3 scenes, and with a total of like maybe a minute on screen time. The new actors they replaced the kids with originally suck, all of them. They're bad. They don't give a good performance, and honestly, I really am glad that there probably isn't going to be a third one. Number 3 is Sherlock Gnomes. I saw this in Hawaii. That was a mistake. It's not funny, really. I think I got maybe 1 chuckle out of the movie, which is bad because it's a comedy. Some of the performances were just bad. It's not quite the Emoji Movie of this year, but it's the closest to that's an animated movie. It was horrible. I would not recommend seeing it. The original Romeo and Juliet wasn't even good, so I don't know why they made a sequel on it. But don't see it, because it's just as good as it's actually worse than Romeo and Juliet. Coming in at number 2 is Peppermint. I saw this movie. I have no idea why. It's essentially Death Wish with Jennifer Gardner. Why? Who thought that was a good idea? Who greenlit that movie? Jennifer Gardner is average in the movie. She's not really my favorite actress. The story is literally Death Wish, just, again, slightly different, and with a way worse actor. And some of the scenes are just really weird. Like, there's some random scene in the middle of one of the background shots where it's like a bunch of women who just are randomly there, never appear in the movie again. What were they for? I don't know. Now, the last movie on my list, I actually did do a review for, and I super regret seeing it. It's only gotten worse once I keep thinking about it. It's so bad. It's the worst movie of the year, and it gets my worst movie of 2018 award. It goes to A Wrinkle in Time. Even the title doesn't make any sense, because he's not lost in time, he's lost in space. It would have made more sense if it was called A Wrinkle in Space, and that's only the title. There are a million problems wrong with this movie. Chris Pine phones in his performance. He might as well have done it on a literal telephone, because that's how bad it is. There's only 1 genuinely good scene, there's 1 creative scene, but a bunch of the actors are just really bad. The most annoying thing in the movie is that the little kid's name is Charles Wallace, and they yell that name about 1,000,000 times in the space of like 2 minutes.
Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace. Every Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace. Holy sh! Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace, Charles Wallace. You know who? Charles Wallace. I don't want. That's it. See ya.